Hello techies, I'm Divya here. On behalf of CyberBrainer, don't you think the world of tech is evolving faster than ever? Now is the perfect time to dive in and build the skills that will take you places. With CyberBrainer, we are putting you in the driver's seat of your own future. We at CyberBrainer don't just teach your interest. We believe that knowledge is power, but it's applied knowledge that truly sets you apart. Whether you're diving into data science, mastering artificial intelligence, or exploring the world of cybersecurity, our courses are designed to give you the skills that matter. So let's jump into the session and make the future yours today. Thank you.
First, we will talk about hiring. The primary HCM organization within Workday is the supervisory organization. We know that or who reports to whom. Workers are grouped and tracked within supervisory organizations. No questions, no doubts on this point, correct. The workers will always be hired in a supervisory organization. They will be associated with the company cost, center, region, etc. But they will always be hired in a supervisory organization or who reports to whom now other organization. Structures can be used to represent multiple organization views, but the primary structure is the supervisory organization, not the cost center or department costing structure, nothing else. It's only the supervisory organization that is the primary organization where we hire employees. This is very important before we start the actual hiring now. What is the hire process? Hiring an employee includes recording the information about the worker and then assigning the worker to a position or a job and defining terms of employment such as location, hours or compensation. This is absolute. Simplistic definition for hire process that we have. It includes recording the information about the worker. If you are going to record the information, we have to record some information as the candidate, as that's why we create the pre-hire. The pre-hire is when the worker is ready to be hired into the system. That is why we create the pre-hire now. A pre-hire can be created in multiple different ways. Now, what was the way that you all created? A pre-hire is part of your hiring for assignment pre-hires. 1. You create it manually using the create a free hire you used to create pre-hire. Task you created it manually. Now is it possible to create all the pre-hires manually whenever you are, let's say you're doing in large numbers, you are hiring in large numbers, will it always be possible or efficient to create all that manually? No, then there should be some better way of doing it where we are able to load bulk data. You can do that using an integration. You can do that using an integration. Now, what is an integration? What is an integration? Anybody has any idea about what is an integration with an external system? You import the data from somewhere else, from another system or application. Or data source. You are importing the data from another system has it. And you are connecting that to Workday and getting that information from that other system. Now, typically, where would you do? Where would you have the information about the candidates? If it is not in Workday, where would it be? And their resumes on. The resumes, yes. But where do you store the resumes? Where do you? If you're not using applications, HOTAs or any ATS application for ATS. Yes, that's the word I was looking for, ATS. ATS or job portal. Yes, what is an ATS? Application tracking system at the Kishan or applicant. Applicant tracking. Tracking system. My apologies, applicants tracking system. What is an applicant tracking system? It is the system where you track who all has applied for jobs with the organization. Correct? That is an applicant tracking system. An example of an applicant tracking system would be a Taleo. The most common, most famous one, Taleo. Taleo is another software, that software package that is typically used to track your candidate applications, whoever are applying to the jobs. Typically, we store them in that particular software, and then you can do multiple processes for recruiting. You can schedule interviews, you can screen the candidates, you can set up, you can initiate background checks and on. A lot of things can be done using Taleo now. Let's say in the Taleo system or in the job portal, you have your details about all the applicants. The candidates who have applied for jobs with the organization now after the interview process, job screening, etc. You found some candidates who are ready to be hired. They have cleared all the processes. Now they are going to be hired. Now, where will the hiring process take place? Hiring will take place in Workday, but the recruitment process takes place in Taleo. Now the recruitment process is complete. Now the hiring process would begin. There is a difference between the two processes, or for layman me, it will be the same. I am hired into the process, or I've recruited into the company. What is the difference? But from Workday standpoint or from an HCM process standpoint, the two are separate. Recruitment process will mostly talk about screening candidates. Screening candidates. First of all, sourcing, getting the profiles. Then screening them, setting up the interviews, doing background check, giving. Providing offer letters, or employment agreement. And then once the employee agrees with the agreement, then they are ready for hire in the hire process. We will assign the worker to a position or a job, define the terms of employment, such as what are the terms of employment, what are the location, what is the hours and on, and what is the compensation. Now you might be wondering, even during recruitment process, they will tell me all these things. That's correct, because there is a lot of overlap between the two processes. The compensation that would be assigned to the worker is also disclosed to the candidate at the time of recruitment. That is correct, but the actual compensation is assigned to the worker only at the time of hire. Now this can be one way of getting your pre-hires, where you create an integration with an applicant tracking system Taleo. There can be others as I will just say etc. And then you can create a link between that application and Workday and import that data. This is the most common way to do. This is the most common process of getting your pre-hire information. Now there is another subset or sub-process of this, I would say, and that is import the pre-hires using an app or enterprise interface builder. Now this is also an integration that Workday provides, and in app or enterprise interface builder, we use an Excel spreadsheet template to load the data. We put the data in an Excel spreadsheet and upload it. This is also a bulk load of data, the using an app. We will see how to load the data using any IP when we do talk about integrations. That data is provided by the business, or how is it? It will be provided by the business. The recruitment team. Yes, and in fact the recruitment team themselves. They will use the app and upload the data rather than using the create pre-hire task every time they would themselves upload all that. They will maintain some kind of tracker, some kind of spreadsheet they will have. If they are not using any applicant tracking system, let's say that the company is a small one, they don't use an applicant tracking system, still they will have an Excel based something, a process where they would list down all the new candidates. Based on that, they will put those information in an IP template and then load it. This is the second way of doing it, but the most common. This second process that we talked about, the integration process, that is the most common way of loading pre-hires, and the third process is Workday recruitment. Workday recruitment module. Now Workday. Why am I listing it as a separate process? It is because a company or an organization may choose not to use Workday recruitment if they have an applicant tracking system that they use for their for ATS functionality or for recruitment. They may not want to migrate to work to recruitment because work to recruitment again is very expensive. If it doesn't make sense, that if it is not a value for money investment for the organization, they might not go for work to recruitment, correct? They might continue using the applicant tracking system, Taleo, etc. because the recruitment team might be more familiar with that, more used to that particular application. They might not want to change. That is why the number 2 option, which is integration, is the most common method of creating pre-hires. But if an organization is using Workday recruitment module, then the candidates will be created here in the Workday recruitment, and then it will not be a separate process. It will be a seamless process where you are seamless process to have the pre-hire information. Because then it is already loaded in the system. It is already there in the Workday system. Once the recruitment process is complete, automatically the pre-hire will be created, and we will use those pre-hires for a higher business process. Straight away, you don't need to do anything separate to get it from Workday recruitment to Workday HCM. It is seamless. You won't even realize that it is. It's a separate thing. It's part of the same Workday box. But this is also a way of creating pre-hires after the recruitment process is complete. Once a candidate is ready for hire, then the pre-hires will be created. These are the 3 different ways that pre-hire information is received in Workday HCM. One is manually, where you create the pre-hires using the create pre-hire task. The second one is you can create an integration, and the third one is using Workday recruitment module. Prisha, oh, here one more thing, especially on this as application, the Taleo, what you said. Actually, I was not aware about this. Taleo, is there any similar software in India that can be given as an example that we can sync to the same thing? We may understand better. From what I have seen, I have worked for large organizations, large IT firms, and they use Taleo. Even in India, I would think that is. Anybody has an example? I'm sorry, I don't have any better example from an Indian perspective, because why work for they also use Taleo. Now my organization uses Taleo for a very long time, but we are moving to Oracle suite, maybe Oracle. I'm not sure about the name. At the Oracle one, they call this as Oracle HCM suite. It is something similar to the PeopleSoft that I mean. I heard that the backend engine is still the PeopleSoft engine, but they are now calling it as Oracle HCM or Business Suite. Or something that's what they're calling them. I just came to know about this last Friday. Yes, I know about Oracle Suite now and but tell you has been around for a while. It is very, very popular. I would say sure or more. I don't know. I'm not sure who has a question. I think it's more, it is a can. You has been around for a very, very long time. Are you aware of the system that your organization uses? How big is the organization that you work for? Mean how many people? No, I have more than 1,000, 3,000. I am plus the organization as, but I never go you this kind of thing. We used to do you. Manually, we used to upload our many we used to create in the software. I said what you said, likewise we used to do. The organization did not invest a lot in this. Somebody said Pratty says Bullhorn. Bullhorn is that a ATS application? Prachi, yes. It is also a ATS application, applicant tracking system. There you go. Mohan Bullhorn, another application. There are several. My organization use something called Bamboo are there. They use it for, it's an her system as it is used for applicant tracking as Bamboo Herd. It's also a cloud-based SaaS product, whatever, but on a very lower or smaller scale, not as big as Workday, but on a very smaller scale. Bamboo Herd, I also am aware of HireCraft. I have never used it higher. Craft is that is again. And there is another application called HireView, although HireView is not completely into what to say applicant tracking system, but it provides a lot of services. It is mostly related to candidate assessment and candidate interviews. I remember another one which is very common these days, Greenhouse. It's a very, very popular applicant tracking system. It is becoming the next big thing after Telio. Greenhouse, because from an integrations perspective, we see a lot of integration between Greenhouse and Workday. Initially, 2-3 years ago, it was all Taleo, all integrations were between Taleo and Workday, but or maybe PeopleSoft and Workday and then SAP, SuccessFactors and Workday. But now we see a lot of integrations between Greenhouse and Workday. This is another applicant tracking system that is quite common these days. But in India, most Indian companies, large ones, they use Tanu. That's what I know. But if they do not use an applicant tracking system, they would do it the way Mohan said, manually using Excel sheets. All then, let's go back to this slide. When hiring, you can use an existing pre-hire or add a new pre-hire. Either way, you have an opportunity to record the pre-hire source information. When you create the pre-hire, you have the option to record the source of that pre-hire. Where did you get the candidate from? Let me show you in Workday what I mean by that, the source of the candidate. It is very important to know the source of the candidate, isn't it? Why is it important? Can anyone tell me? Why is it important to record the source of the candidate? What do you mean by the source of the candidate? Is it where are we getting the candidate from? Is it a reference exactly, or is it exactly? Yes, that is the source of the candidate. Where did you get the candidate from? How did? About this candidate, and sometimes you also ask the candidate, how do you get to? How did you get to know about this position? How did you come to know about the organization? We ask. We ask that to the prospective hires. Why do we need that? Why do we need that? Do we care that? I don't. I don't care. Or should we care? We should care because the future forecasting. If I am getting somewhere, something goes, I am getting the manpower that I'll be having a source for I need more in future also. Source no for the same, we can easily go and take from there. Absolutely. We should know what is our majority source, from where are we getting our maximum people. Or let's say if you hire someone and that person turns out to be very good, maybe in the interview you thought this person is, but when the person actually works, you think that this person is amazing. Now if I need another person, this worker, where would I go? I will try to go to the same source that this person came from. If it is a referral, let's say it was referred by Peter, I will go to Peter and say, hey, you referred that person. That person was excellent. Do any more person this worker, and then Peter will say, oh, there is one more friend of mine who is exactly this person. I'll get that person. Or maybe if you got this worker from a particular college, you will go back to that college and try to get another worker who is more or less similar. If you got this from a job fair then in a particular city, then you will go back to the city and try to do the same thing again, isn't it? And then you will try to analyze that. Where are we getting our best candidates from? Is it from colleges? Is it from a rival company? Or is it from something else? There used to be a company called A period. It was used to be a Workday partner. Then it was acquired by a light later, a period. All the consultants from a period, we found them to be very good when they joined different partner firms. We saw that the candidates from a period they were a 40-45 people company, but then each of those workers were very, very good now. Now it is a pattern. If we see somebody from a period, we will say, hey, why don't you refer another person from a period? Because now we know for a fact that candidates who used to work with a period, they're very, very good. We know that. Similarly, you would try to analyze your trends. And similarly, you will spend more on that. Organizations need to be aware of where they are getting their best workers from. Is it from LinkedIn? Is it from a referrals? Is it from Jordani? Other job portal? Or is it from, say, job fairs or outreach programs, community outreach programs? Where are you getting your best candidates from there? There, you would want to go back and get more of such good candidates. That is why recording the source is very important. If I create a pre-hire, they create a pre-hire. You see it will be ask for the name, etc. But there is a place which says source. It is not mandatory, but you have the option to record the information. Is it an internal? Is it an internal career site? What is an internal career site? Company will have some kind of a website knowing that there will be have some career path or career option. They can apply from there. That might be internal source who all are applying to the internal career site, who can apply to an internal career site employees, existing employees. Yes, existing employees, or I mean existing workers. Let's say it can be a contingent workers also. Sometimes they also allowed to apply for this job. Existing workers will use the internal career site to apply for positions. Yes, that is for internal. And then community network. You have Facebook, LinkedIn, Spock or Twitter. You got the candidate from these places, and maybe it can be from a recruiter or an agency. An agency can be there or a recruiter. This is also quite common. The agency, you outsource it to an agency. Agencies are good at head hunting. There are typical specialized agencies who can hire it for you. But in agency there is a cost involved. It varies from country to country, but typically it is, I don't know, 8%. 8.5% or something of the candidate's compensation. Let's say you get a candidate for $100,000. You have to pay the agency around $8,300 something dollars, 1 month's compensation you have to pay to the agency. Something that. And then you have job fairs. Your office is campus sponsored, commercial, professional. Is it just a public job fair? It's a campus campaign. These campus campaigns are typically in universities, colleges, except educational institutions where you set up your kiosk, and then the students come and apply for some job openings. You have the option, or you did advertising in a broadcast, outdoor or print advertising. You can put them in. You can put those information in, or it can be a referral. It can be an employee referral. And website, a corporate website, Monster Talent Link, Talia Business Edition. This can be. Or it can be TV media, where you are advertising using radio, television. What is the source of the pre-hire? That is very, very important for us to record. For future hires. Now the contract, contingent worker and hire employee tasks both allow you to rehire former workers. Now you can also rehire former workers. That is also allowed. And contract contingent worker will help you to do what? To help you to bring in a contingent worker, and hire employee task allows you to get a worker as an employee. There are two different tasks that we will use contract contingent worker for. Continued workers and hire employee for employees now. Both of these tasks will allow you to rehire former workers. Now users with the appropriate security permissions will be able to select a former worker during the contract or hire process. Now, not everybody will be able to contract a contingent worker or a hire employee for a former worker. To rehire former workers, there are sometimes some legal implications. Only will rehire former workers. Not everybody can do it. Only some specialized people with that. Let's say only the HR admin or somebody would have the access to rehire a former workers. Now this happens because it is important. How you handle the original hire date. If you are rehiring a worker, what would be the original hire date? What distorts that information? Let me give you an example. Let's say a person A used to work for the company between 1st January 2000 and he left the organization on 20th August 2015 at 2014. That's where he left the organization, and now this worker is joining us again on 20th March 2022. This person is going to join us again. What is the hire date? The hire date is the most recent date that the worker was hired. What is the hire date? 22nd of March 2022. The hire date is 22nd of March 2022. This is the most recent. Hire date. And then there is another concept called continuous service date. From which date? Did I write the spelling of continuous correctly? Continuous. Whatever. From which date is this worker continuously working for the organization? For most of the cases, it is equal to the hire date, the continuous service. Date is also equal to the hire date. This worker has been working continuously from 22nd of March. Now, what is the original hire date? Jan 1st, 2000. Correct, it is 1st of January 2000. A lot of organizations want to retain this information. 1st of January 2000 will be the original hire date of person. But some organizations say, oh, we don't care. We don't want to retain this worker history. What we will do is, if it is rejoining, if this worker is rejoining us, then that would be the original hire date. We don't want to preserve the employee record history, the other or the work history. But most companies in the us especially, they want to retain this original hire date information. They want to retain that. Original hire date is equal to 1st Jan 2000. Now can you tell me, is the worker rehired to answer this? Question, what is the rehire? Rehire means a candidate. You have hired a worker who has worked with you previously. That is the rehire. You're hiring that person again. Is the worker a rehire? Now, based on these dates, can we come up with a logic which says, is the worker a rehire? Yes, what is the logic? We have the data he was initially with the organization from Jan 1st to 2424. Based on this information, hire date and original hire date. Is there a way we can come up with a logic which says yes? And the hire date. What original hire date is not good, not equal to hire date. If this happens, then the worker is a If the original hire date is not equal to hire date, then that means the worker is a rehire. Yes, this is a very, very common, I would say, logic that we use to identify rehires in the organization. Is the original date equal to hire date? If the answer is yes, then no, this is not a rehire. If the answer is no, which means original hired, it is not equal to hire date, then we can say with a good amount of the conviction that yes, this worker is a rehire when we write logic, when we create allocated fields, or when we create compensation eligibility rules, etc. We can use this kind of a logic. Original hire date is not equal to hire date. But for that, you have to retain this information. You have to use the original hire date field. If you do not use an original hire date, then of course this information is not reserved and you will not be able to create this logic. But typically most organizations do, and we use this logic to identify whether it's a rehire or not. Yes, Shrita, question. Honestly, in the place I work, I use this information a lot because I'm an onboarding specialist. All this information is stored in one arrays for us. Correct. Also in the store. Is there anything which is an integration which we can use using one HRIS and then no O between one, each one HRIS and one day? Yes. Depends what all information you want. You want the candidate, let's say home, email, address, phone number. You want their what to say? Previous employer name, date of birth, SN. You can pull all that information from the existing application into Workday. It was just very simple. Integration, yes. And it is very common to have those integrations. Sure, one more point logical here which I wanted to ask. When we get take option called rehire option and It will take automatically this original rehire date, or we have to manually enter. No, it will automatically take the original hire date. It is that the key here is if we are using an existing pre-hire, if we use an existing pre-hire, then automatically everything will be populated. But sometimes organizations, they don't want to use that. They will say, create a new pre-hire again, create a new pre-hire, treat it as a new employee. Do not pull in the previous record. I have seen some organizations do that, but most organizations try to preserve the original hire date. They even give the employee their own employee ID, and sometimes, especially I knew about, even in Cognizant Technology Solutions. That organization, I used to work for them for some time. When I joined that day, the onboarding specialist asked me, did you work with us before? And if yes, do you remember? Do you have it on in the record? Do you have your old employee aid? If you do, we will use that. We will not create a new employee aid for you. That's what she said. They retain the old employee records. They even give you back your old employee aid. Some organizations do that, but there was another organization, a large consulting firm. I worked for them twice. I used to work with them. I left them and joined them again, but they gave me a whole new set of records. They did not preserve my original employee history at all. I was given a new employee aid. I was given a new email ad and everything was new, although I joined them only after 3 years, but everything was new. It differs depending on the capability of their HCM system and how they want to do it. But typically it is very common to have the previous employee employment record retained. The probation period. The probation period can also be configured to monitor workers and to comply with local regulations and policies. What is the probation period in? Anyone has any idea about a probation period? I don't really can explain in a proper definition. But the period when you're trained, the period when you are on a training. If I join an organization, I may have the first 3 months as my probation. What happens in the probation? Your work is monitored. You are evaluated. You are evaluated at the end of the probation period. We trained this person for, let's say, 3 months. Is this person now good enough for to continue working? What happens at the end of the probation period? After, let's say, 3 months, we will be confirming services. Does it happen always? It depends on employee performance and they will be confirmed, or else yes, then there might be different steps: extension, probation, failure of probation. Absolutely at the end of that duration, let's say 3 months, then it can be 3 months, it can be 6 months. 1 year depends on the industry, depends on the company, a lot of factors. But let's say at the end of the probation period, the manager or the competent authority will evaluate and does this person satisfy all the conditions to become a full-time employee? If yes, then end of probation period and company worker is hired. Otherwise, what happens is they may want to extend the probation period. This work is doing good, but I think some more probation would be handy. They will extend the probation period by a month, and if they feel that, no, this worker is absolutely not what we thought him or her to be, we should rather let them go, then they can be put on a performance improvement plan, or they might just be terminated, although it is very common for us to see that probation is only for new hires, but it is not always the case. Promote probation can be for promoted workers or transferred workers. As were you aware of that? Anybody who was aware of that? In my organization, we have a separate step for that. We call it a secondment. After the promotion, the worker is also monitored for performance. Is that what they do in your organization? Let's say you are a very good developer. You're a very good developer. You do all your work correctly and on. And then you are promoted as a manager. You are promoted. You are all very happy you got an increment, salary increment, and very happy. But as a manager, you're not doing. All developers don't become good managers because a manager has needs to have some different kinds of personality traits. They need some different way of working. A developer is very hands-on. That person goes into system, does everything on his or her own, tries out different things and gives solutions. A manager, on the other hand, is a different person. That person needs to be to get the work done by other workers, and maybe a good developer is not a good manager. It may happen, although in an IT organizations, they promote the worker as a manager and then nothing, they let them be. A lot of people end up being very micromanagers. They micromanage everything and they end up being a bad manager. But in some organizations, even for promoted or transferred workers, they have a probation period where they monitor the performance of this promoted or the transferred worker, and if they do not meet the criteria or if they are not working effectively, they are put on a performance improvement plan or a PIP. The most dreaded word in the corporate world, PIP. If somebody is on a PIP, then what happens? What is it? Who is placed on a PIP, who are not performing, who are not performing, they are put on a performance improvement plan because the company wants to give them another chance. That maybe there were some factors which affected their performance. Maybe the bad manager, bad kind of work, bad time. They try to change some of these parameters and see if the worker is really bad. Or was it some factor that was affecting this worker's performance? But they give them a chance, a lifeline kind of thing. For 3 months, we are going to give you in a different project, different type of work, and see if we can still keep you and what happens at the end of the PAP. Again, there is an evaluation that did the worker perform in the PAP, or shall we let them go? Isn't it this happens? This is also very common in organizations. PIPs are also very common. Probation periods can be called configured in Workday, and you can also after the end of probation period, you can also put the workers in a performance improvement plan. But why is this probation period important? Because we may include that as part of our hire process. From the hire date, you can define the probation period. 3 months from the hire date, that is your probation period. Probation period can be included as part of the hire process as all. Let's do a quick quiz. A worker can only be hired into which type of organization? Supervisor, supervisory, 2 or 4, I guess. 2 or 4. I think it was false. Higher reason is not a required field. Higher reason is not a request. It will give you a warning. You may have seen that orange color warning comes up. Orange or yellow. I always get confused with the color. Anyway, that warning, that alert comes up and says you have not filled in the higher reason, but it won't stop you if you click on again, or if you click on submit again, it still lets you proceed higher. Reason is not a required field. This answer is false, but it is recommended that you fill up the higher reason. This question we have not discussed. but I will just let you attempt it when hiring into a position, if there are positions. Restrictions they will default in and cannot be changed. This is true or false? False, false. Based on what you saw, it is false. Based on what you saw, maybe based on what you did. When you did your assignment too, you could see that in the hire employee screen, you could still change the location. You could still change the job profile. You could still change what? Full-time or part-time. Those things you could change, correct? That's why you said false. Which is true? I mean, which is correct? The which is the way of answering. But now let me show you one particular parameter. Again, it's not let me show you one particular parameter that will change everything. Oh dear. Oh no, it logged in. If I go to edit tenant setup HCM, am I typing something? Edit tenant setup HCM. There is a global parameter that controls whether this is true or not. I want to show you that particular option. Where is that option? Should have been here only. One sec. Exactly here, there is this option which says allow override of restrictions on staffing events. If I allow this, then you would be able to change, but you are doing all the tasks as Logan McNeil. You are the one who is creating the configuration. You can change it definitely. But if you are hiring as a recruiter or a hiring partner, you would not be able to change it if this is unchecked. Whatever is filled up automatically in the hiring restrictions, the part-time or full-time, or let's say it is the location, or if it is a regular employee, if the worker type, if those things are coming in automatically, then you would not be able to change if this option is unchecked. Allow override of regular restrictions on staffing events. The person who is going to do the hiring, they will not be able to override the restrictions at the time of hire. This is important. If I allow this, then yes, the recruiter or the hiring partner, whoever is doing it, they would be able to change the values at the time of hire. Now in large organization, sometimes where the processes have to be strictly followed, they uncheck this. They would not allow you to override the restrictions. Only the HR admin or people with specialized access would be able to do that. This is done to make the system foolproof, that you are not by mistake. You are not doing something silly. This option is important. Allow override of restrictions on staffing events. The answer to this question when hiring into a position. If there are position restrictions, they will default in and cannot be changed. The answer is depending on the configuration. It is true and false, both true and false depending on configuration. The next one is the pre-hire object is separate from the employee object. What? Do you think? True, false? Have both the answers. It is true. The pre-hire object is separate. Let me show you. You say, hey, Chris, you don't say this before and only after you ask the question, then you tell me the answer. Yes, that's how we remember better. Let's go here and let's search for Logan McNeil, or let's search for, let's say, Steve Morgan. Steve Morgan. I'll just search for this one and let's see what happens. This is the employee object where we have a beautiful picture of Steve, his employee details, etc. This is the employee object. But do you see something else? A pre-hire. And here is the employee. This is one. This is two separate objects in one day. The pre-hire and the employee is a separate. Object. If you click on the pre-hire, it will tell you that this is a pre-hire profile. This is actually the employee now. This is the employee. This worker is now an employee. That is fine. And it's fine. This worker can be an employee. But the pre-hire and the employee are different. Two different objects in a Workday. They are related to one another, but they are not one and the same. They are two different objects. I think this is anyway. They are two different objects in Workday. All what are the three different ways that pre-hire records can be created in Workday HCM manually? Integration, including model Workday recruitment module. Yes, three different ways manually. That's what we used as part of the training. That's what we did then using an integration with an ads, or it can be using the Workday recruitment module. That's correct. Now what we will do is we will just try to hire someone into the system. We will try to hire, and this time we will also put in some compensation, correct? Let's try to do that. I would need 10 to 15 minutes. Will you be if I continue for the next 15 minutes? Yes, the reason is because I have to redo some of the configurations. I have to create those salary plans and allowance plans one more time in this particular system because it is not there. That's the reason. And before that, I would also be created some compensation eligibility rules. Let's start with that. Let's quickly verify whether we have our company. How do we do that? Edit compensation. Eligibility rule, and I think we use the prefix OU. Let's see. I want all employees of XYZ Motors. Let's see. We said organization and superior organizations, XYZ Motors, perfect. And then what else did we do? Eligibility tool. Did we do something for managers or above all executive vice presidents, managers in us, or supervisor in OK? Let's look at this one. All executive vice presidents. 3 executive vice president is what we said, and it is XYZ Motors, perfect. We have the eligibility rule set up, and now let's see if we have the grade profile. We have managers or above. Sorry, why did I go for grade profile? I just want to see the compensation grade. Did come create. And we should have something for lower view. Managers are above. We are saying that this is correct. The grade profile is managers are above in the years, and or let's quickly create a job profile. Create job profile. And here we are going to create a job profile for our executive president because we have created our eligibility rule based on that and we have created everything based on that. Let's call it as Vidhu. EVIP sales. And let's choose the management level. What happened to the management level? Three exec device management level items. Anyway, we will use this 5 executive vice president in our eligibility to this way anyway. It is an executive vice president. We are calling it as EP sales and then in the compensation grade. We have to choose our compensation grade managers are above. This is the one that we are going to choose. Should we choose any grade profile? Do we need to? Do we need to use the grade profile? No, we will use the eligibility rules in the grade profile. Automatically correct. We are not going to use the grade profile. This is it. I will just click. To save this done, we have our job profile ready and let's go back to our supervisory organization hierarchy, or instead of Halon 1, let's go to Erlon 2. We go to executive and here we will create a position. To create a position, we go to related actions of the supervisory organization. And then this is a job management organization. Is it all? No problem. What we have to do is we have to put in the job profile. We will edit the hiring restrictions. We go to organization, edit hiring restrictions. Effective date is availability date is fine in edit. To job profile, let me also, use a second job profile that we created, EVP sales, and I do not want to restrict on the basis of location, and that's it, submit. Done. Now we can hire it in. These two job profiles, one can be the training manager, one can be the EVP of sales. Now we have to make a few more fine-tuned, adjustments here. One is the hire process and one is the proposed compensation hire process. What we will do is we will create copy or link definition and there I will see if I have the hire process. I will. Just initially let me do for the proposed compensation. I will create a very simplified version of the proposed compensation hire. I will not go for any approval, so I will just say a simple, just initiation process. That's it. We have created a definition for proposed compensation hire. Now what we have to do is we have to update our hire process. You have to update our hire process that it includes The compensation step, correct. We want to do that. We want to give compensation now. I will go back to the top level organization, that is Kiss Motors, and I will go there. And I will go to business process. Business process definitions for business object I will go there because I know for a fact that we have already created a higher business process. Definition, I will just check that. Hire for the 1001 XYZ Motors. We have already done this. As part of our second chapter, now we are going to enhance this existing definition and add the compensation step. We have opened up the higher business process. You see, there is only one step, that is initiation. We want to change that. You go to related actions, business process, edit. Definition. We are going to edit the definition of the business process with effect from today. Yes, and we will add a step. You will create another step, you see. I clicked on the add row icon and here I will call it as step B. The type is an action. And it is going to be a proposed compensation hire. I will scroll down. I will go to propose compensation hire and I will select it and I will select who is going to do it. The compensation partner, I want the compensation partner to be able to do. Oh my. Many roles. Anyway, let me go back to the our partner. I want the HR partner to be able to do it. Again, too many HR partners. Let me use the first one. HR partner M, let me use this one. The assignable role is a partner. Perfect. All I will use this partner and click. Now what happens is I have to make sure that there is a partner assigned to my organization. Otherwise, how will work? They know. Who is the HR partner? Correct. Let's assign the HR partner role to this particular supervisory organization. I will go to the related actions again. And how do we assign roles? And how do we assign a role? Go to the roles and assign roles. We go to roles and assign roles. Perfect. Roles, assigned roles. I will use yesterday's date or today's date is fine. And I will assign the role of HR partner. I will go here and I will search for HR partner 1. Second, I have to find out the correct partner. What is the first one? There should be this a partner M security group that is linked to it. This is weird. HR partner, there it is. This is the one I have to use, this HR partner. Let me assign this to Logan as I'm done my business process is. Now updated to be able to do compensation and I have also assigned the role of HR partner to my organization. Now you might be wondering that I did it for XYZ Motors, but I created the profile or I created the job profile for executive. How will that work? Do you have this question? Now let me ask you this, who is the HR partner for XYZ Motors executive? It's our partner. Know who has who. Who can we have assigned it to? The one has been assigned the role Logan McNeil. Why? Inherit. Inherited, correct. Yes. It will be inherited. Logan McNeil. If I look at let me sort descending, that is the easiest way to find out. If I start descending, you will see that the partner role is inherited. It is. Inherited it is. We have assigned the role of our partner to Logan and Neil. Now let's quickly create we have our grade. We need what we need our salary plan. Basically, whatever we did in that other tenant, we need to create here as we have to give an effective date. Let's give yesterday and yesterday 27th. We call it as a salary plan. What did we do? We used 50% pay. Space and eligibility rules we put as all employees. That's what we selected. That's it. Exclude from merit. What else did we create? We created an allowance plan. And what did we call it? We call it as we. It was an amount based plan and we said it is. The new car allowance. And what was the eligibility rules? Managers are the problem. Let's choose. We have this one. All executive vice president. Let me look at the rule here. It says management level is executive vice president and this is Kiss Motors. I think we have to choose the other one. What is managers are above all this? Is managers in OK or supervisors in the US? Oh sorry, managers in US or supervisors in OK. Let's use this one, all executive vice presidents. The compensation element is card allowance. And then we will not put anything in the amount. Or if you want, you may let's say 1200 dollars and the frequency is, let's put it as monthly. Monthly you are going to get a 200 in the allowance plan profile. We will see $200 and this is country. United States and the other one we created as 1500. Sorry, I think it was. What was the amount? Let's put it as 1000 or 900. I think that's what we put 900 EP. And this is country. United Kingdom. Got it. I think we have to change our eligibility rule a little bit. The reason is in the job profile, we have used 5 executive 5. President and not 3 executive vice president. They won't match, isn't it? And we will not be able to get it to work. 5 executive vice president, that is what? This is what we used. In our job profile, I'll get rid of the other 2, done. Now what else we have created? Salary plan. We have created allowance plan. Now what else do we have to do? We have to put it all together in a package. Correct? Create compensation package. That's what, For this compensation rule, you put in the XYZ organization. Condition also, we don't need to put that, we will need to put that. Why? Why 2? 2 things. I mean 2 reasons why we need to put it. As part of your training, all of you will be creating the same thing, same compensation plan, same package, same eligibility rules, etc. How do you ensure that the rule will default for the hiring that you are doing for your organization? You have to restrict that to your organization. Only, isn't it? That's why you would need to put it as part of your eligibility. Otherwise, you will create something. Somebody else will create. Same thing. It will not work. What? They will not know which package to use, which compensation grade to use, which compensation plan to use. That's why you need to use it and in the real life. Also, it is always recommended that you use the supervisory organization. Hierarchy. That will help you, that will help too. The package, etc. everything to default correctly, otherwise there will be a problem. It is recommended that you use that. Here, I am putting, oh my god, I did create the salary plan that day. Is it I am putting in the allowance plan and me put in the salary plan as I think we created it on that day as today. I did. Not use the underscore. Let's use this one. Our configurations are ready now. What we will do is we will go to this executive department and we will quickly try to hire a worker. As the F of sales, here we go and we go to hire employee, and then it will ask you what is the pre-hire. What is the pre-hire? I have to create a pre-hire. Let's first create a pre-hire. Create pre-hire and we call that worker as Sam. Williams, I'm hiring Sam Williams. I have to give an email address. A test come work. My pre-hire is created. What happened? Identification is required and must have a value. What is the identification? Other identification. Application. Done, I've created a pre-hire. Now let's go and hire the worker again. We go to hire and we go to hire employee and we go for UDOSM. This is our pre-hire and what are we going to do here? Is we are going to give the hire date. Looking at the hire date of 27th. You see the hire reason. We just did that in the quiz. Hire reason is a required field. That was a question, true or false. Now tell me, is it true or false? Hire reason is a required field. False? It is false, yes, and it gives. UN this amber, sorry, this alert, this orange. Alert saying that select a hire reason, but it is not a required field. I may choose it. I may choose not to use it as job profile. Let's use the app sales location. New York. I hope this is the correct New York. Many New Yorks. This one looks to be more accurate. This is a New York. And if I click on submit, what will happen? Will it complete the hire or will it do something else? Let's find out. Submit the moment I click on submit it. Says up next is Logan McClendon. Neil, to do what? Propose compensation hire now. You have to propose the compensation for this. Worker moment of truth. Let's go and check it out. Let's see what is happening here. Our package. Our package is added, you see. Sorry, our grade profile is added, not the package. Our package did not come through correctly. Why not by compensation rule? What is happening there? Are multiple compensation rules which are conflicting. What? There is not sure. Which compensation package to use? You see R is also on the list. You see Wu compensation package is also on the list. But there are some other more generic ones as let's see what is this rule. Somebody has created this rule must have been very generic. They are saying this rule says management something employee. Sorry, this is a package tool. All countries in United. All. Locations in the United States. You see, is this a int? As a very stupid rule. Sorry. For using this bad word. You see, they're creating a rule which says anybody in the US is eligible for this package. They have not restricted it to their organization, and you saw that our hiring Workday is now not sure which package to use because all of these packages are eligible. We should try to avoid creating this loose-ended or open-ended rules. We should always try to create something that is very, very specific. Anyway, I have used this compensation package now. Now tell me, you see, the grade profile is automatically selected based on my eligibility. Rule in the package, I'm sorry, in the compensation grade profile, and the range is given $50,000 to $80,000 now. I will add something in the salary. In the salary, if my package had defaulted, then my salary plan would also have defaulted, but in this case it hasn't. I have to choose it manually. I will choose by compensation package and rule. By compensation package and rule. What is the option WBU salary plan? You see, this is the one I created. What is the salary I want to give? Here, let's give him $85,000. Is this part of the range? Is this part of the range? No, but still let me give it. Let's see what happens does. Do they get any allowance? They should get any allowance. I will go again to compensation package and rule. I get to have a car allowance, and you see the amount is already given into $100. Monthly it's done. Now I have filled up these two allowances. Let me click on submit. It is not happy. It says total base pay is above the pay range maximum. Is that? And it highlights, you see, the total base for $85,000. This is above. What is the limit? $50,000 to $80,000. I have given something that is above or outside the range. You want to change it? Yes, you can go ahead and change the salary to something that is within the range. Let's give it as $75,000 and save it. All now. If you see, now the alert is gone because now the total base pay is within the range. But it was an alert. It was not an error. If I had clicked on submit, it would have still gone ahead. Going back to that question in compensation, will it allow you to enter a value outside the compensation? We said yes because compensation grade is a guideline. Here also it says guideline. It does not say a rule. Or let me click on submit. Our worker is now hired. Let's go to the members. Sam Williams is now hired. Let's look at Sam Williams one more time just to ensure that everything is correct. We go to compensation tab and you see $75,000 is his base pay and he's going to get a total compensation. Another allowance. He's going to get some more allowances. The car allowance is $1,200 monthly. The total Compensation comes out to be for the salary and allowances comes out to be 89,400 US dollars and understood. This is how the compensation will look now. Tomorrow we will start doing security, but before that I want to hire one more worker. Today, I will fix those other eligibility rules that people have created. I will try to get rid of them, and then I will hire one more worker that my package defaults. My package defaults correctly. Otherwise, when my package defaults, you will see my salary has defaulted, my allowances have also defaulted, and I don't have to do anything. I will just click on and it will work. That is for tomorrow. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.